Hey everybody, welcome to Artist Zen Happy Hour. Cheers. This is a place to wake up, stimulate, and celebrate the artist Zen spirit in us all, where creativity meets mindfulness in an incubator of awesomeness, and the outcome is hopefully miraculous. This gathering is based on two quotes. The first one being, "Child of God, you were created good, beautiful, and holy to create the good, the beautiful, and the holy. Do not forget this." That's for you. You're a child of God, born to create. And number two, which I love, and I think it's really important for us to know at this time, is "a happy outcome is sure." So if you can just press those two quotes to your heart, it might help to navigate this hour with a little more grace. Our guests today are Alison Martin and Jean Trebek. So excited that they're here. They are creative mavens who have been doing so much with their lives, and they'll go into some of that, but what brought them together today is that they're the editors of a magazine, an online magazine called InsideWink, which is a platform, a resting place that encourages kinder living by highlighting universal experiences and individual perspectives that reveal the true goodness within us so that we can share and share the goodness. So if you're up for more good news, be sure to go over to InsideWink.com and subscribe, because they put great content out all the time. So Alison and I had collaborated on many different projects, from directing shows together and writing and producing and pitching shows, and even thinking about it sort of makes me laugh, because it was like Lucille Ball and Ethel Merman of the entertainment world, because we just laughed the whole time we were together. Yep. And Jean and I have been friends from way back. We were both spiritual licensed practitioners at the same church, North Hollywood Church of Religious Science. And we sort of lived around the block from each other and would see each other, taking classes. In fact, today when I was talking to Will about paying attention, and he was telling me a story about he and Jean were in a class together in North Hollywood. And that you guys were paired up, and one of you had to be blindfolded, and you had to walk each other around the campus. And I was thinking about how much you have to pay attention when you're blindfolded. It really makes you aware. So being with these two gals and sharing them with you and introducing them to you, it just makes my heart glow. So I'm really excited that you guys are on the third episode of Artist Zen Happy Hour. So welcome. I wanted to start off by just saying, first of all, a double question. You guys can decide who answers which part of it, but what was the inspiration for InsideWink is number one. And number two, where did the name InsideWink come from?
Jean, what inspired you to do InsideWink?
Okay, well, first of all, so looking forward to being here with beautiful Maureen and my beautiful friend Alison and her community. I also just want to finish when I was led around the parking lot with Maureen's husband, Will. Reverend Mark was so jealous because Reverend Mark kept saying, "I want to be blindfolded and walk
around with Will."
Anyway.
We all have Will stories.
We do have Will stories.
We all have great Will stories,
Yeah. And Will's beautiful wife, Maureen, you are truly, Maureen, and then I'll get on to InsideWink. You are the epitome of beauty inside and out. And so you and I, we were with Alison and our friend Richard, we were doing A Course in Miracles together. And then I was inspired. Something spoke to the Holy Spirit was with speaking and giving me ideas to do a documentary on the power of forgiveness, but actually having everyday people and not so everyday people from all walks of life share a story about forgiveness. And our friend Trish was with me, and we filmed some wonderful people. And we just could not seem to put this film together. And Alison actually is the one that came up with the idea for InsideWink, and we would take snippets of these interviews that we were able to get and use them as a platform to offer beautiful forgiveness experiences. But it was Allison's idea, InsideWink. It was all Allison.
I love that it came from the desire to extend a teaching on forgiveness. I mean,
Yeah.
that is so interesting to me, because when I look at your website and your content, I don't always think that, but that it came from that is so beautiful, because
You sneak it in.
yeah, well, you know, like I think that forgiveness is like the platform that you have to get to forgiveness before anything beautiful can grow. So Allison, where did InsideWink come from?
You know, we looked at a lot of different names, and one day we were eating lunch, and I just started thinking of the idea of namaste. Like I see and I think namaste is a charged word. Like I think it has, people have a lot of feelings around it, but I love the idea of best, goodest, most loving, kindest, most compassionate truth of me sees that in you. And I thought, so what is that? So that's an inside. And then I thought, you know, my son and I used to wink at each other or do this thing like this instead of kiss in public. He did it, you know, he was, you know, 13 and, you know, 11 and didn't want me to be like, you know, jumping on him and loving him, you know? So I thought, oh, in wink. That, so for us, it is sort of a modern day, current namaste. That's kind of what it means, that I see and that we all are experiencing. We all have this basic commonality that InsideWink is sharing with everybody. So when we say the good, we don't mean necessarily external. It's sort of the internal, the best of. And it's very interesting because all our writers come from all different genres. Some are TV writers, some are short stories, some are actors, some are not writers, and yet they have all found a way to discuss that exact truth of love and waking up and compassion, which I find very moving. So that's what InsideWink means.
The thing that I also enjoy about InsideWink is that you highlight artists, and you also, Jean has a recipe that goes out. So it's like inspiring your own creativity. I get to learn about a new artist and try and bake something new, which fail, but whatever. Yeah, that's right. What have you guys learned about having a concept and then beginning to massage it into form and then gathering other artists? And what have you found about yourself in collaborating with other artists, other writers, to help people nurture and instead of retract, but grow and flow?
That's a great question, Maureen. For me, what I've learned is that we're like you said, we're all creating all the time. So I think that's my joy in meeting with all these people, is that, wow, we really are the child of God that is always creating all the time. And whether it looks something, you know, like a piece of art or, you know, a cake, whatever we're creating, everyone has a sense of joy in whatever they're creating. And really to get the perfectionist, what it's supposed to look like, out of the way.
Exactly what I have learned, that people at first were reticent, saying, oh, I'm not that. I'm not whatever they think. With a little urging, we've had so many people submit and write, and we added a section called Everyday Heroes, and people would be like, oh, I'm not that. And yet, when they read it, they love it because it shows that what they're doing, simple little acts of love, is creating, is creation. And so I'm finding that just in some people, I feel like we've opened up like a little doorway for them to maybe view themselves in a way that they hadn't prior. I kind of love that.
I love that too. I have the same experience at VoiceBox when people come to VoiceBox and see the story night, and then I say, "Are you going to tell a story?" And they're like, "Ah!" Like I
Yeah,
ask them, like, if they're going to jump off the Empire State Building, and they're like, "Never!"
yeah.
and
Right.
then little by little they come back and they're a little curious, and you really have to be very patient with that creativity and the creative potential you see in someone, because if you can spook people, and I think it's such a precious thing to encourage the creative expression in another. And we have all probably been with teachers who have pruned us a little too close. It's sometimes it's very hard to recover from that. When you're bringing this project together, we see the finished project, just like you guys see the finished project of an artist or a storyteller, and you think, oh my God, that's amazing, I could never do that. But behind the scenes, there's the deadlines and there's the allocating and there's all that shitstorm. Alison and I, when we worked on shows together, I mean, I know we'd be in the middle of the muck of producing a show and being like, this is never gonna work, we're gonna be found out, we're the emperor's new clothes, just do the next right thing and just act like you know what you're doing.
Right.
And then somehow this thing comes. How do you guys continue to stay the course even when you know that you have no idea what you're doing?
That is every minute.
So true. I think it's trust. Going back to Will leading me around the parking lot with a blindfold on, it's just trusting that the next step is going to be given at the perfect time.
Yes.
And especially now with what we're all experiencing with the coronavirus, we're just trusting that the next step is given at the appropriate time. And it reminds me of the that old cartoon of Mr. Magoo, who wore those really thick glasses. Alison, do you remember Mr. Magoo?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. And he'd be walking blindly, and then like a plank would come and save him.
Just at the right time.
Off a cliff, and a bird, he'd fly on a bird. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know that for me, there are some times that I say to Jean, we have no one for next month.
Mm-hmm.
We have nothing for next month. And then all of a sudden, it is the floodgates coming in, and we end up with an addition. It's a miracle. And now, when we first started, which was a year ago in November, so we're almost a year and a half, I guess, we would post once a week. So we had 4 things to post. Now we post once a day. So now we're posting 30 things a month. And sometimes we're doubling up now. It's been amazing.
So I'm going to read tools from my book, and we'll just talk through them. One of them is the 2 that I chose for this hour was show up and tell your stories, because that's basically what you guys do. So in chapter 7, the tool is show up and suit up. Life is not a dress rehearsal. We're not here to warm the bench. Every day we have the opportunity to take life on life's terms and find the good. A spiritual vixen is visible. She shows up, open-hearted, open-minded, open-handed, holding her own, standing her ground. She's a temple of truth and authenticity, a well-lit lighthouse. She's not afraid of her own brilliance, and she always leaves her mark. Jean was just talking about it, like just showing up. Showing up is huge. For some of us, that's a huge threshold to cross through, even getting out the door sometime. But for the artist, it's a perpetual exercise in showing up. And not showing off, but showing up, like taking your art and placing it on the altar of humanity and being like, hope you guys like it. And it's a very vulnerable thing to do. So how do you guys get to the showing up part? Do you feel uncomfortable with it? The exposure, the vulnerability?
Well, we've found that Jean and I write this monthly column. And we have discovered that we have very different styles. Mine is very observational. And that's why I was challenged this month, because I'm in my house. So it's like I am observing my kitchen cabinet, you know? I mean, it's like there's like not a lot of observation of the world going on. Jean connects, I think, in her writing more with a higher power, a higher intention in her writing, is kind of like what you just read. It sort of holds us. Mine is in a moment, Jean is in eternity. Like, that's kind of like how I kind of like look at it. But, you know, having to do it every month, like I wrote something this month about, and it's my same style, it's observational, and it is just that step. I mean, I think, Maureen, you're a very advanced creative. Like, you've always been very brilliant, and your stories have always been very engaging. And I'm finding now that I think if everyone just says, I'm going to take the first step, your body gains a little momentum, and then you get, like, you know what I mean, like you're constantly falling forward. And I think the same thing is true in the creative process. Like, if you can just write, like, look, we are always looking for submissions. You know, if someone wants to try it out and write to us, just hit that submit button. Jean and I will get it. Just take that first step. What do you think, Jean?
Well, I actually have now forgotten the question that Maureen asked. But what I wanted to say,
Okay, not important.
I wanted to say, I'll say a detriment that I've experienced is comparing myself, because I will think, God, what Alison wrote is so great. Wow, I read Maureen's books, and I right away compare myself. And that has been a real challenge for me, to not judge, not compare. Just like you said, Maureen, you show up, you offer it, you go, if it helps, great, and if it doesn't, that's fine too.
You know, the comparing thing is a universal dis-ease that we all suffer from all of the time. We're all comparing each other right even in this moment. And what I stumbled upon recently was just the etymology of the word compare. Com means with, right? And pair means two. So I've taken myself and I've split myself into two different people so I can judge myself against myself, because we know there's only one of us here. But I've come to this place where I pair myself. And it's another way that we suffer from the illusion of separation. And so anytime that we feel that comparison, just know that is your creative kryptonite. Like, you really have to do your best to just breathe through it. The last time we did this, I was talking about a time when I went to this gymnastics class. I went to this gymnastics class as a little kid, and I didn't know anything. And there were these kids, you know, flipping around and doing all kinds of tricks, and I just started crying. And the teacher was like, "What's up?" And I'm like, "I don't know how to do, I can't even do a front roll." You know? And he was like, "This is where you start." They didn't know anything when they got here. So we don't know where each other are on the spectrum of creativity. In some places, like, I'm horrible at ukulele. I'm terrible at cooking. And I might never get any better at either of those things. But you might just see me expressing the thing that I love and I'm better at. So we don't have an advantage of knowing each other's Achilles heel. And we just have to do what we do to the best of our ability. Like one of the 4 agreements, just do our best, you know? But I love that you brought that up, because that can shut a lot of people down. Shuts us all down all the time. You know, comparison, even like with the numbers of your reach, or, you know, who's hearing you, who's seeing your art, or, I mean, all of that is really toxic, and we all have to kind of breathe through it.
It was funny that you say that, because I'm very lumpy if I stood up, and I started going to Zumba, right? And there are like we're in LA, like there are like professional dancers literally like twirling around, and I am like I can barely get my pants on. It was absolutely absurd. And I was way in the back, you know, and I bumped into the exercise bike at one point. Like, it was just not I felt this is not good. This is really not good. And at the end of the class, the teacher came up to me and said, hey, I saw you. This is your first class. You were great. And I was like, wow, this woman really is like not seeing well, or the mirror is bad, or I don't know. And then that little bit of encouragement, because I was literally looking at, like, you know, people that weren't sweating doing like the tours. I was like, I don't understand. And I've done it almost every day since now. And that's like 2 years ago. And so it's exactly right, Jean and Maureen, like that, just that little woman coming up to me and saying, that was great. Like, you did this. I said, well, I kind of bumped into the bike. And she was like, we've all bumped into bikes. We've all, you know, and it was very freeing. It was very, very freeing to me.
Yeah, I think that because we're in this society of experts, we don't ever allow each other to see our early hours of beginner and that shameful moment when it's actually so beautiful. And I think it's the bravest of the brave in that hour. When I see a new storyteller get on stage and they're nervous, fear of like failure and fear of beginning and fear of comparing and fear of all of those things, you know, keeps us from a very beautiful moment, I think, in regards to creativity. It's called the beginning. You know? And just like a mom watching a baby crawl and us watching somebody finish the, you know, a marathon first, like they're both equally beautiful, but I don't think they're equally awarded.
I'm looking at your chat, and here someone is saying that she was worried about what the cashier at the grocer thinks of her. I have so been there. Do you know? I totally get that, until I realized they are not thinking about me. Like, you know, it's that story of when I bit my tongue and I was bleeding during the audition profusely. And I thought, well, I'm never, and then no one even noted. And I went, oh, it's not about me. Like, I am in my own story, but I'm an extra in that person's story, you know? And look, I'm not, you know, I'm not Brad Pitt in their story, you know?
I get it. It's really funny. So it's funny because I was just talking to another friend just before this call, and she has a business where it's gone flat like everyone else's, and she's like, I got to figure out how to run up, you know, get some business going even at this hour. Like, I got to, and I go, you know what would be really helpful if you did instead? If you just said, hey, in this hour where there's no work to be done, I just want to take a moment to say I really appreciate all the work that we've done so far. You know, tell a story of gratitude and connection rather than fear and separation. I wanted to share a little bit about storytelling because that's what you guys do, and then how you pick storytellers. What are the stories that you're looking for? So this little section just says, you can plaster the world with promotions or pleas, or you could seduce the world with a story and a song. And you guys are so great about telling your story. You really do have a great variety of writers that gives us a full spectrum of the human experience. So storytelling has been the single most powerful tool to use to create and cause community, content, and prosperity. Storytelling is good for the soul, the family, the community, the love life, the business. Basically, being a better storyteller will improve every area of your life. You cultivate the human stories and you bring them and deliver the best stories to us. And we're so well fed on the shitstorm of like things breaking and disease and destruction and lack and limitation. And it's just so nice to have a well of information where you know you're not going to get poked in the eye. you know? You know? So like, how do you find those stories?
We just reach out to our friends. And that's where, you know, I remember my grandfather saying, where else do you start but with your friends when you need help? And like, for instance, you, Maureen, you said yes, you know, you gave us that beautiful interview. I've asked a few of my friends to be guest writers, and Alison has certainly asked, and we've received beautiful writings from her friends. And what's also really fun about our InsideWink, we never know what we're going to get. It's like we go out fishing, we cast our line, we reel it in, and we go, look, we got We got a magician who's going to tell us about illusions. We got, an actress that, is doing this, and so we never know what we're going to get. And I think that's really fun for us. That unknown, but we know it's going to be good. We don't know what it's exactly going to be.
I would like to be able to keep it fresh and not know, like that in itself is awesome. You guys, we love hearing from you, and I just want to open up the conversation to anybody who wants to ask a question of these amazing ladies who've come to share with us today. So, hi there.
Hi, Alison. Hi, Jean. While I've been on hold here, I have been looking up your website, and boy, it's nice to see something positive for a change. So I'm going to keep on looking at that after today's call. One of the things I've noticed right now, and I've taken some pictures, maybe I'll go ahead and send them to you. We can't go out a lot, and if you go out at all, a lot of times it's just drives. So we went to a park not too far from here with a lake, and my husband and I were sitting, oh geez, I'm so popular. So we watched this couple get out of a car, and I started shooting like a stalker. Not really, I just think it's interesting because I saw the guy carrying a cooler, and she was carrying a blanket. So I kept an eye on them, and I started to just take snapshots, and I've got a picture of him spreading the blanket out, and then then they sat about 10 feet apart and just had a date. And it's just the pictures and the movies of our time that are going on right now. And so I stopped, and they're so sweet, these shots, that I thought maybe I'd offer it to them. And so I went and told them what I had done. And I said, so what's your deal? And they said, well, we haven't seen each other. It was either for 2 weeks or 4 weeks. And they were just so happy to have this time together, even though it was 10 feet apart. And another one was, I saw a guy in the store the other day, and I've got pictures of this as well. I really think this is interesting times, in that this guy had a little mask on his little boy, and he didn't have a mask on. And I said, where's your mask? And he said, I gave it to my ex-wife because I only had 2 masks, and I wanted one for my other child. So, it's all this interesting photography that can go on in today's times as well to you. But it's just so sweet to see how people can connect in a world where everybody is just feeling so discombobulated, so disconnected. A lot of people are just, I've talked to Maureen about this, just really suffering.
Yeah, but I will say, Carol, that, you could go out into the world and see a lot of suffering, or you could go out into the world and see a date and see love happening on a picnic blanket,
That's what I saw.
Yeah, and you chose to see that.
Yeah.
You will nurture the world you focus on. So that's beautiful. Hey, America has her hand up.
America.
I love that name.
Hi, America.
Hi, Allison. So my question was, what do you do to cultivate your own creativity? Do you have a routine? Do you have a method? Is there, what do you do to kind of get things going? Is it a daily thing? Just kind of curious about your practice.
For me, America, I watch and I listen. And I think I now am so aware of the stuff. Just this past year has made me having to write these consistent stories that I really watch and listen so much more, and am so moved by small dialogues I overhear, like with what Carol was saying about the blanket. Mm-hmm. And then I find that I allow myself the time to mull it over, and I all of a sudden it'll be like a little fish swimming around in my brain. And I'm going about and I'm doing my thing. And then all of a sudden I go, okay, there it is. And as Jean says, I go fishing and it comes out. Jean, how do you keep writing? What do you do? A deadline?
I was going to say deadline when you and I say, okay, we're going to share something by 7 o'clock.
Right.
But I too am very aware. We have a monthly theme that we set. And so I know what our next theme for May is going to be. So on the back burner, I have an idea of, I'll keep my eyes open for something that I could write about. But I really never know. It's not like I plan something. I also, honestly, I'll ask the Holy Spirit, my angels, to just, I am here as an open vessel. Please write through me something that will benefit someone.
Don't you think it's just like anything, America, you know, like when you're thinking about what you're going to cook for dinner, it just starts somewhere and you give it time and then all of a sudden you're eating dinner. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think part of it is just the allowing.
It sounds like you're saying just be open.
Yeah.
I'm hearing from both of you.
And you are such an, you know, we've had the pleasure of meeting, and you are such an open person. I would love it if you would write something for us. Just, you know, you have so much stuff and such an interesting life, and, you know, it can be very simple. And you know, 400 words sounds like a lot. It's like a page. It's like, you know, I would love that. I bet you got a bunch of stuff in you.
There's that deer in the headlights that's happening right now.
You know, something else that happens, and I'll just say, when I know I have to write something and it's getting close to that deadline, it's so easy to distract myself. I can find, oh, I got to do the laundry. I should really go and call back someone. I should go online. And then I go, no, I need to be still and to get this done, because I'm accountable to Alison. She's waiting for me to produce something. So I think that's important too, to really give it its time, like a friend, like to cultivate that. You know, you just can't, be so distracted and then nothing gets done. You have to really decide, okay, from 4 to 5, I'm gonna sit and something will come through me.
Yeah. Are you yourself a writer before this?
No, and I still don't consider myself a writer.
You are.
There's two things that you guys are talking about, and that is, first of all, the deadline. You know, if you have a deadline, you're more likely to get to it. Like you mentioned dinner. Everyone's got to eat dinner by a certain point, or else it's breakfast. And it's not dinner anymore. So there's this deadline. The concept of deadline actually came from a line that was drawn outside the prisons in olden days. And if you crossed the line, you were shot dead. So that is what still lives in this idea of deadline. Like, we have this universal understanding deep in our bones that, like, we'll be dead. Like, Alison will kill you if you don't get to the deadline. You know,
Wow.
that's in there. So there's this idea of being pushed by pain or pulled by vision. And in regards to creativity, I really want to encourage people to use a deadline, but also, like, know that if you love this baby so much, like, you'll be running toward it. Could we all try and nurture this this passion, you know, this passion for the project that wants, because I know that you guys had to have a certain degree of passion to continue to show up. And that can be as simple as, I just like hanging out with Alison, or I just like hanging out with Jean. Like, that can be enough passion to cause a baby to be born. We've seen that happen enough, right? But, like, you know, so pick your playmates well, but also, like, really take your internal temperature on, is this mine to do? Because sometimes if it feels like grunt work, it could be like you're birthing someone else's baby. Like, you're not even supposed to do that. Like, find the thing that makes you jump out of bed and then do that. How does passion work in your relationship and your creativity?
I love Jean Trebek to bits. I love you, Maureen. Like, I have been very, very blessed to meet people and connect. And I can't picture my life now without Jean. Who knows what we were just saying the other day? Who knows what inside, like it's been an adventure. Like the same thing, like when you and I were working on things, Maureen, it felt like we got on a crazy cartoon bus and drove around town wearing party hats and honking. That's what it feels like with Jean. Like it just feels like it's just been a joy. So there is that, and I do feel now a certain responsibility and love for the people that are writing, because many of them aren't writers. So I feel a real love for them, that they're coming out in their underwear and showing me their butt, and writing about stuff that they weren't doing 6 months ago. So
Yeah.
I feel a real responsibility and love for them, like a real passion.
I feel so blessed that Alison, that you're in my life. I don't, this project would not be without you. And you are someone I just love to be with. So when we're together, I feel such joy and freedom and inspiration. And, it's so different from how I adore my husband and my children. But, when you have, and I have a couple of other girlfriends that I cherish, but working with you on this project has really helped expand my sense of self and my confidence and in my creativity. And I look forward to doing this even though there's, as the Course in Miracles says, no special, but you're the illusion of my special friend.
Right.
And anyway, I just
that can be that can be
nice.
the classroom that you're in with each other. Sometimes the classroom can be really a nightmare, and sometimes it can be a dream come true. And both of them are sort of okay for our spiritual evolution. Last week in Happy Hour, we were talking about lighthouses, like who lives before you on the road and who is someone that makes it possible for you to get out of bed and think that you can do this. And today, what you guys seem to be talking about are what I call wingmen, like somebody who's like got your side and you want to travel with them, and they make you a better flyer, they make you a better writer, they make you a better artist. It's almost like this harmony that happens. And I learned recently that, and I'm horrible at harmonizing, but this friend of mine told me that when you harmonize, just like what Alison was saying, like you're not singing, you're listening to the other person sing, and then you're trying to make them sound better. And I was like, oh my God, that's so beautiful. So to wish all of you the possibility of having collaborations like that, to get to witness collaborations like that makes it more possible. I mean, after having draining collaborations, it is like such a blessing to experience an effortless collaboration. Yeah. So this is our last call, a last shot of inspiration to keep our artisan souls moving forward. Last shots, Alison and Jean.
Okay, so remember this: professionals built the Titanic, a novice built the Ark.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Good. Well
I love that.
Okay.
Alison.
I love that. We're all here. Love's still here. Love you. Love you.
That was beautiful. Love you. We get that. That's what we need to hear more of that every day.
True.
It's just such a pleasure to meet you guys. Thank you for sharing. And I used to run a newsletter, and I did it kind of the same way as you guys. It was, you just can't believe you pull it off, and you do, and you're so proud of that baby once a week. I did the same thing where I had a theme. Do you post those in advance? Or?
The theme is actually on our submit page, all the themes, for the month. So if you're interested.
I love the name InsideWink. I only, thank you, Maureen, just looked it up just a little bit ago. It looks so beautiful. And now that I know the inside story of the name, it's just beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
thank
Andy.
you. Thank you.
Be sure to head over to, so they can hear, it's InsideWink.com. Sign up for good news, and you'll be very delighted that you did. Allison and Jean, one more time for coming here. Thank you guys so
Maureen,
much.
I just want to thank you for always creating amazing communities. You're amazing at that.
Well,
Thank
I'm
you so much.
a person junkie.
You are.
I like people.